few kind of experiences with, being in Alabama, dealing with Alabama State, the Magic City Classic, been the fam, homecomings. Like, did you have any inspiration with the Greek life? Like, did you ever look into that? You know, anybody around you that was close to you that was a Greek that kind of influenced you in any way?
No. I don't have anybody around me. Like I said, I didn't grow up around any collegiate experience, so nobody was Greek or anything. My aunt, however, I guess I could say her, she was a Delta, but I didn't know what that was. She was a Delta. She was talking about it, but I didn't know what that meant or what it was. I considered that fam. I considered becoming an alpha. I had a business class with an alpha. He was a really cool dude, and he approached me about it. We talked about it. But my personality, I didn't think would work in that model. So I didn't pursue. I was on something else, man. Like those mistakes I made at Alabama State, when I got the fam, it was a second chance. Yeah. So I was all about my work. I was all about business and just positioning myself different. See, I in those mistakes I made at Alabama State, I put myself in a position where I was an adult, man. Like I was paying bills, I bought a house, I was doing all these things. I had like lived like an adult, and I was broke. I was living check to check, and I ain't have anything, and so I felt what it felt like not to have, and that just wasn't something that I wanted to maintain that way. And so when I got my second shot at fam, like I wasn't playing around, man. And so I wasn't doing the partying all the time and all that stuff, man. I was about my business.
So were you ever purged, like when you was at Alabama A&M, Alabama State, or at FAMU? Was you ever purged?
When you said purge, what do you mean? Help me out.
Talk to me.
Hey, come on, talk to me. Country boy.
Now, purge means like your money ain't coming. Like you
ain't signed a piece of paperwork, and the financial aid and kick your class.
Y'all call that
sign up for class.
Oh, yeah. Y'all got that purge. Okay. I did go to HBCU, so yeah.
A couple times.
Yeah. Yeah, nah, man. So I got interested. There's some real juice on that side of the table. So here's the thing: when I started at FAM, it was different because it out of state tuition. You talking to somebody who knows about the college life for real. And so I like FAM, and I'm like, yeah, I'm gonna go here, but I didn't realize that out of state tuition was real. You went from Alabama State. I was on scholarship, so I never paid anything. And then I go to FAM. I get accepted. I'm cool. I done got dropped off and everything. I got my dorm, all this stuff, right? So now they go talk about financial aid. And they like, yeah, that check gonna be like 10 grand a semester. And I'm like, what? I called my mom up like, hey, you got to come back. You have to come back and get me 10 grand a semester. I can't cut that. Like you talking to somebody at that age, $10,000 like, I'm like $100 million to me. So she was like, nah, you gonna stay, we're gonna make it work. And again, my Uncle Texas stepped in and was like, we're gonna help out or whatever. But one of the benefits of the mistakes I made at state, man, allowed me to be an adult student at FAM. So I wasn't bound to the rules of a lot of the kids that were a lot of younger kids that were going there. So I could become an independent student, and I could apply for in-state and be a resident in Florida. And so I did that. And so I was able to change my status and get my tuition down to like a couple grand. And then I solidified a few scholarships. And so that's when the whole net check experience started to come in, because now I'm making money. I say my last 2 semesters, I was bringing in about 8 grand a month because I got so many scholarships. I negotiated a scholarship with so peep game, when you transfer in at FAM, this is how it was when I was there, you couldn't qualify for a scholarship. Okay, you could only get like maybe a departmental scholarship. You couldn't get the scholarships offered to freshmen. And so my second semester, I got the CIS departmental scholarship, but it was only I think that scholarship was $1,000. And then I made all A's the first semester, all A's second semester, and all A's my third semester. And I went to the dean office every day until they gave me a scholarship. I went every single day. And I told her, I was like, hey, I'm a young Black man. I'm making A's. I look good for the school. I would hate to have to go back to Alabama. I really want to stay here, but I can't afford it. Need your help. And they gave me a special presidential scholarship.
Wow.
That covered everything. And so then I had these stipends and stuff coming in. And so when I would try and get my money from financial aid, man, it'd be a nightmare, man. But eventually it would cut my checks. And so I'd be good.
So how did you get purged? How does that help you from business today? So like, what are some of the experiences of being purged or knocking on the dean's office every single day? Like, what are some of those life lessons that you use today with Bob and your other businesses that you have?
I mean, it was just God's way of preparing me for what I do right now, man. That's entrepreneurship in its best, right? Mm-hmm. You're going to get no's. You're going to have patience, and you're going to have to be persistent. And so being in that environment at FAM, it preps you for that. You might want it right now, but it's not sometimes it's not on your demand. You just have to find ways to work around it. Like I said, when I got the FAM, I mean, the ticket was $10,000 a semester. My mom could have came back, but she wouldn't come back. So I had to get creative. And then as an entrepreneur and a business person, that's generally how it works. You have to find creative ways to get to what you want. And I think in dealing with the issues at FAM, not being able to get my finances made available to me when I needed them, hey, that made me be able to move around how I move around now. So this I think the biggest one, the right word to say for that would be persistence. It teaches you persistence. Because the first time when I went to the dean office, they told me they couldn't give me a scholarship, but I just wouldn't take no for an answer until I got one.
Somebody told me, man, as far as being an entrepreneur, they said, what is success? And I was like, and I said, it's when given the opportunity and taking advantage of that moment. And that's what you did. You went to FAM. You almost didn't want to be there, and then you kind of was like, all right, I'm here, and then you just was persistent and you just made it. You pushed your way through that, and that I commend you for that, to kind of hear that story and to see where you are today. That's very commendable, man.
Yeah, I appreciate it, man. It was what helped, though. I'm not that type of person who I struggle with taking the credit. I'm a believer that it's always a group effort, a team effort, man. So, I just had the right people in my corner, and I had resources available to me that may not be available to the next person. And so I was fortunate enough to be able to use those resources to maneuver. I remember my books got stolen, man, because I stayed on Florida State campus. And just young, man, country boy down here, man, the floor, I don't know, just moving around. I leave my book bag in my car. Somebody going, man, stole all my books, man. I'm like, man, who steals books?
Those valuables right there. That's assets.
Assets.
Commodity at the time, right? And so I called my uncle again. He like, man, just go to Bookstore and call him when you get there. Wow. And so just having those kind of resources, made available to help me trying to figure it out, because I'm telling you, man, it was the equivalent to entrepreneurship for me, because I didn't have any family who had been to a HBCU or been to college in that situation in general. And so I was just trying to figure it out, the majority of the time, and just, brushing off the problems as they happen and just not giving up.
I want to kind of piggyback on what you kind of just said about your uncle. I'm taking it that he had a huge influence in being a part of that. And the reason why I bring that up is I heard somebody say at a graduation, they said anything done well is not done alone. And it sounded like your uncle was a big part of this process as well. So what can you say about your uncle, and what kind of influence was he throughout your process?
Oh man, that's my dude, man. That's my mentor. You know, even now, you know, he molded my mentality. You know, like I said, I came from a rural area. He also came from the same community. He left when he was very young. He left when he was 18. And so he never lived here anymore. He comes back all the time, but he's never lived here. But he just has seen more. He's a veteran. He's was in the Air Force for many years as a JAG officer. And so he saw a lot. And he could see in me what I couldn't see. So your limitation is generally what you're exposed to. So your mind can't see past what you don't know, right? And so he was looking in on me. He knew I was academically inclined, and he knew with that skill set I could maneuver a little differently if I just committed to it and became formally educated is what he would push. And he saw that the computer thing was a thing. He wanted me to be a lawyer. His goal for me was to take over his law firm. If I had followed the track he had laid out for me, that's what I would be doing right now because he's about to retire in the next couple of years. However, when I got my first check as a software engineer, I told him I wasn't going to be a lawyer anymore. I'm like, oh, good. Because he had it all laid out. He wanted me to be a prosecutor for a few years, and then I come in his firm. He's like, you're going to pay me $40,000. He's throwing these numbers at me, and I can get my first check. Like, they gonna pay me this now? And all I have to do is set a computer? I was sold. Wow. And so he supported me though. He wasn't that type of mentor that was like, oh, you're not gonna be a lawyer. Okay, well, I'm throwing you to the side. He was like, well, no, if you think you can make a career out of that and do something with it, I mean, do that. Whatever you do, just, be good at it and stick to it and be persistent. And so he's backed me the entire time. And even to the day, he's a big supporter and a mentor to me. So hats off to him. I always tell people, if not for him, I don't think I would be where I am right now.
Wow.
Yeah. And so I do the same too. So for my family, I take the guidance and what he did for me, and I do it for my cousins and try to, sow that mentality into his teaching into them, like he did for me. So, yeah.
Shouts out to Unc, man. He actually, because I'm in Jacksonville, so he's definitely helped me navigate through some real estate situations. And he put us in a room together. You know what I'm saying? I still think it was a great setup, but
that's right. I forgot. He sure did do that. He sure did.
Yeah, that's crazy. Yeah.